everybody, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March, and when I posted my Maybe Midrash video last week, during the week, I got a couple of requests from viewers like you, to post a recommendations video for books with religious themes. So that's what this video is. If you're interested in reading for the Maybe Midrash read-along, or even if you're not going to take part but you're still curious, then here's a list of books that I really like and that I can recommend to kind of maybe open up your interest or open up your curiosity in reading books that have religious themes to them. Some things that you can explore. Now, I have a larger pile of novels than I do of nonfiction. So in the comments below, if you are really super interested in nonfiction, let me know that and I can write back to you of some additional titles. But what I did with nonfiction is I'm bringing forth some books, along with the books that I already put in my Maybe Midrash TBR. Some books that I thought were interesting, but not too academic, and that were well-rounded and would give some information in a fair way. What I am not trying to do is convert anybody, is proselytize any religious faith. I am not trying to convince anybody of anything. These are just books that I really loved, that I thought were very interesting, and thought that you might like them too. So let's get going. I'm going to start with the novels. One of the most well-known is Nathaniel Hawthorne's The Scarlet Letter. This is a classic story of a woman who is branded with a scarlet letter sewn into her clothes. And that happens because she has had a baby girl out of wedlock in Puritan New England. This is one of my favorite classics of all time. American author Nathaniel Hawthorne. And there's so much to explore about religion, superficiality, hypocrisy, faith, and what faith and religion actually means. There's a lot of discussion about who's actually good and who's actually bad, and that leads into conversations about no one person is all good or all bad. And there are extenuating circumstances as to why the events in this book happened. It's an excellent book, an excellent classic if you haven't yet read The Scarlet Letter. The next one I only found out because I joined a book group run by Britta Bowler a year or two ago, and she was reading through all of the women Nobel Prize authors. And this one is Selma Lagerlöf, The Saga of Gossa burling. Now this was, she won the Nobel Prize in 1909. This is her first novel and the basis for the 1924 silent film of the same name that launched Greta Garbo into stardom. The Saga of Gossa burling, very quickly, is he's a defrocked minister, finds a home at an ironworks estate that also houses an assortment of eccentric veterans of the Napoleonic Wars. His defiant and poetic spirit proves magnetic to a string of women who fall under his spell. He talks a lot about his religion, religious life. Again, he's a defrocked minister. He feels that he has fallen from grace, fallen from faith. And it's a really good novel, very interesting, kept my interest through the whole thing. This one I read for last year's middle of the book, that's my channel name, Maybe Midrash. And this is Rumor Gardens in This House of Breed. This is the story of Philippa Talbot, who is a 40-something-ish administrator or an office person, and she decides to give up her entire life and join a nunnery. And it's so fascinating and it's so good in what's behind her decision to do that. What does that mean for the rest of her life? What happens in the nunnery? What is the dynamic between the women and between the friendships that develop? What's behind her decisions at the conclusion of the novel, and what does that mean for her? This was so many things. This was illuminating, heartwarming, discussion provoking. It made me explore what faith means to me and what I would be willing to do for my faith. It's an excellent novel, and I highly recommend that one. Now, this one is a different one, and you may be wondering why I'm putting this into this recommendation video. Maybe Midrash is not specifically based in Christian theology, and it's not for any of us booktubers to tell you, read books based on Western Christianity. Nope. That happens to be my background and my specialty and the things that I'm most familiar with. But this novel is a dramatization and a fictionalization of mythology. Now that sounds weird, because isn't mythology fictional? And how can you fictionalize mythology? But this is the account of an assumed story for mythological characters. And this is Madeline Miller's Cersei. I really enjoyed this book. I think I read it last year. I don't remember when I read it. In the house of Helios, god of the sun and mightiest of the Titans, a daughter is born, but Cersei is a strange child, not obviously powerful like her father, nor viciously alluring like her mother. Turning to the world of mortals for companionship, she discovers that she does possess power, the power of witchcraft, which can transform rivals into monsters and menace the gods themselves. Madeline Miller also wrote the Song of Achilles, which I loved, was excellent. But if you're interested in reading these different accounts of Greek gods, Greek and Roman gods, it is interesting because you see connections and similarities to mythology and other world religions. So it's interesting, I thought. I'd put that in this video. This one is one of my favorite books of all time. It is Barbara Kingsolver's The Poisonwood Bible. This is the account of a family of missionaries in the Congo in Africa. And I forget when this is set. I think 1959. They are a missionary family to the Belgian Congo in 1959. Excellently written. Oh, there's so much in here about religion, mission work, the purpose of missionaries, fanaticism, what it means to become missionaries to a people or a community group that does not share the same religion as you. What is your purpose? Why are you there? Is it to proselytize and gain converts, or is it actually to help your fellow humans? This book is written in alternating perspectives. There are 4 daughters, I believe. So good. The storyline is so well written that you hear the different perspectives of the family members. And it's wild to read the differing ideas of the father versus the daughters, and exceptional novel, and it's just so good. This one, Alice McDermott is a favorite author of mine as well, and this one is a very quiet novel. This is The Ninth Hour by her, Alice McDermott, and this is the story of a young girl who's taken in by nuns, and it's such a loving, warm-hearted example of a bunch of nuns that live together, but you start to read the accounts of these women and you realize they're human, they're just women, and they have a certain level of faith and a certain level of the love of Jesus, but they are just human women. And it's a lovely book. Alice McDermott is she's what I call a quiet writer, but I love her stories, I love her writing, and loved it. And this one I have a naked hardback. This is Willa Cather, Death Comes for the Archbishop. And I will insert a picture here so I don't hold this up. Willa Cather has some of the best landscape writing I've ever read. Her writing is absolutely gorgeous. And again, this is the life and times of an archbishop in the American Southwest. The landscape, again, the gorgeous landscape writing. I'm holding it up again. Why am I doing that? Again, his life and times, and everything, all of the people he meets, all of the reasons why he does what he does. He is ministering to a remote community, what that means to them, what they go through in a religious way and just in an everyday daily life way, how he serves them and how he serves his denomination, how he kind of gets assigned, gets moved back and forth, and what happens at his death. It's a beautiful book. Again, I can't recommend Cather enough. I love her writing. So, lastly for the novels is anything by George Eliot. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it, I can't help it. Her first novel, Scenes of Clerical Life. Again, it's exactly what it says. There are 3 novellas in here, talk about clerics, and with different situations, a lot of discussion about hypocrisy, the Church of England versus evangelicalism, the humanity of clerics, the differences in high and low church. It's George Eliot. I can't recommend enough. And one of my favorite novels of all time is Daniel Duranda. This is one of her, I think it's her last novel, one of her longest, one of her more complex. There's a lot in here about Judaism and Jewish entrance into English society. There's so much to talk about. It can get confusing if you're not familiar with Christianity and Judaism and the comparisons and contrasts. And when George Eliot published this novel, she was criticized for putting in the Jewish section. And then she was also criticized for putting in the aristocracy section. So she couldn't win when she published this novel, but she was unwilling to cut either one. And it just works. And you see her arc from not being kind to the Jewish faith to writing Daniel Duranda, where she completely does a 180 and she discusses it with enormous amount of respect, complexity, and so many nuances about religion and dedication. So anything by George Eliot. She writes about religion in some way in every one of her novels. Okay, those are it for the novels I have. I've got a small stack of nonfiction, and I hope I picked some that were just not too academic. Go back to my Maybe Midrash TBR to see some more suggestions, but those are books that I have not read, and those are my TBR. The first 4 I have read, and I'm also going to suggest 2 others that I haven't read that I could add to my TBR. This one is by Stephen M. Weiland, The Jews in the Time of Jesus, an introduction. This is a slim book. I loved it. I bought this for my studies. And it was such a good resource material for research papers and understanding the Jewish community while Jesus walked the earth. What it was, social customs and cultural customs and political customs, family life. There's so much in here that was so valuable to learn. And it comes in, it comes in small pieces, so it's not hard to read. It's a pretty accessible book. And I've read it cover to cover a few times, and it's just well written, easy to understand, and very valuable in learning more. We tend to forget that Jesus was not a Christian. Jesus was a Jew, and he started Christianity, hence the name, but he was a Jew, and it's really valuable information. The one thing I need to say, when you pick up nonfiction, with religious themes, look for the credentials of the author. It's very important because you want to read something from somebody who knows what they're talking about. There's a lot of people out there that think they're experts on faith and religion and Christianity and church life, but they could be people with very little training, very little education, very little research skills. So it's important to kind of look at that. Stephen Wyman, I'm not sure if he's still alive or not. This book was published in 1996, so it's an older book. He was a rabbi at Temple Beth Tikva in Wayne, New Jersey, and is the author of Settings of Silver from the Paulus Press. So I can trust him, I think, and it was a very good book. This one is a little different. I already disclaimed that I wasn't trying to convince anybody of anything, but this one is 10 Lies the Church Tells Women by J. Lee Grady. I am a Christian feminist. I don't think that comes as a surprise. And this one was really helpful to look at the different things that churches tell women in order to benefit the male community in churches. J. Lee Grady was an ordained minister, conference speaker, and an editor of Charisma magazine, which is a Christian magazine publication. It was illuminating. It was maddening. I don't want to encourage female anger and hostility, but I almost can't help recommending a book like this. If you are a female and you are a Christian and you're wondering, why do churches say all the same things, Christian churches? Why am I not allowed to do certain things? Why am I not allowed to preach? Why am I not allowed to read? Why am I not allowed to be a ministry leader? Whatever it is in your church, there's a lot of good stuff in there and a lot of good starting off points to do a little bit more reading. This one is another interesting book. It can get a little academic, but again, it's fairly short. Is God a Moral Monster? Making Sense of the Old Testament God by Paul Copan. Now, when people refute Christianity and they talk about a patriarchal God and an angry Old Testament God, a God who hurts people and who punishes people, that's what this book is addressing. And it was really good for me to read. There's a lot of interpretation and explanation in here into certain scriptures. Paul Copan was a PhD in Marquette University. He is the Pledger Family Chair of Philosophy and Ethics at Palm Beach Atlantic University in Florida, and the author and editor of many books, including When God Goes to Starbucks. In the Christian circles, that was a fairly popular book. But this one addresses all kinds of topics. He sacrifices, who are the new atheists, God's wisdom, ubiquitous weirdness, warrant for trafficking in humans, bride price, misogyny, women in Israel. There's a lot of topics in here. If you read a book like this and you don't agree with the author, it is a really good place to start a discussion or a conversation or your own personal explanation. So I really got a lot out of that book. This is one of my favorite books. And this is a book that I kind of dig into here and there. I dip into it over time. It's not a book that you need to read cover to cover. And I've showed this on my channel before. This is Devotional Classics, Selected Readings for Individuals and Groups. And this is edited by Richard J. Foster and James Bryan Smith. This is a series of essays and writings and letters from different people of different faith traditions over time. It's not just Christian writers. There are many in here. And let me see if I can, in the table of contents, Charles Spurgeon, Kathleen Norris, Brother Lawrence. I read Brother Lawrence's small book. Francis of Assisi, John Bunyan, Elizabeth O'Connor, John Wesley. There is C.S. Lewis, Jonathan Edwards, John of the Cross, Martin Luther. There's a whole bunch. Catherine of Genoa. Elizabeth O'Connor, I already said. But these, Thomas Merton, Teresa of Avila, these are excellent writings, devotional classics, as it says, that you can pick and choose which you want to read, learning about faith and learning about spiritual formation. There's some really beautiful writing in here, really beautiful thoughts about God and about their religious experiences and religious journeys. So I love this book, and I think it's available on Amazon or wherever if you don't like shopping on Amazon. These two books are the last that I'm going to show you, and these are TBRs for me. I haven't read these yet. But these two are by Gary Willis, who is a Catholic theologian. Let me see. Gary Willis... He's written many books. He studied for the priesthood, got his doctorate in the classics, and taught Greek for many years at Johns Hopkins University. He's professor of history at Northwestern University, and his works on American history have received many awards, including the Pulitzer for Lincoln at Gettysburg. These are what the Gospels mean and what Jesus meant. Again, he's a Catholic theologian, but these are definitely worth a read, and again, they're both slim books. These are readable, and these are good for the lay reader, not an academic or not an expert researcher, that type of thing. But if you are interested in the Catholic faith, or you are Catholic and you're interested in reading more from a man like this, to get into some personal research, I guess I could call it, I'm really looking forward to reading these, because just because I'm a Christian doesn't mean I don't want to read the experiences of another Christian who's different than me, or a Jewish person, or a Buddhist, or a Muslim person, or, did I say Jewish? Or somebody in any other faith tradition. I want to read all different accounts of different experiences and different religious journeys. So, that's it for me for today. Let me know down below if you are interested in any of those books, or if you want some more titles, if none of those have struck you. If you're interested in a different branch of theology, or you're looking for something different that you're hoping to find, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think about any of these books, and let me know if you're going to take part in Maybe Midrash. There are plenty of other novels out there, there's just thousands and thousands of things to pick from. So it's overwhelming. And hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.